And that is all I want to say.
Okay. Alwale, let's shift gears now and talk about the bipartisan talks.
Yes.
Are you committed to these talks as the Kenya Kwanza team?
I think I want to get a bit of clearance before I start, because I can respond to any question arising from bipartisan talks. But we had agreed before they walked out of the talks, we had agreed that we don't carry the conversation into the media. So if Senator Sifuna would like us now to breach that principle, which we have put in something called the framework of talks, then give me clearance. I now deal with it so that Kenyans know the level of dishonesty that has been going on.
I think
in those talks.
The question, yeah,
it's fine.
It's okay. And my question was, are you committed to the talks?
100% committed. We are not talking today. There is a 7-day hiatus. The people who have caused it is Azimio. Just because they do not want to look in the eye of Murugara, our co-chair, when he opens his mouth, the first thing Olekina will do, the first thing that Sifuna will do, Olekina and Sifuna are the biggest problem in the meeting. They stand up and they say, now we want to declare that the talks cannot continue, before they have made any contribution. It is agreed that Olekina and Sifuna have never participated in a function like this. But those of us who carry experience of having participated in this, you sit and you hear bad things from the other side. For as long as they wish to talk, then you respond. These young people, no. Now we declare a dispute. A dispute over what? Who said that we were supposed to agree? We went there because there is disagreement between the two sides. They refuse to allow points of disagreement to be articulated. Instead, they say, we want for timeout, so that either they go and consult, they go and do ABCD, but they do not want us to speak on issues. The current stalemate that was declared again by these guys is arising from something we call interim measures. Interim measures where we are saying, while we are talking, let us make pronouncements on the following things. For example, IEBC. We stop the work of the panel that is supposed to identify commissioners. We agree with them. But we tell them, before we then issue an order, we should ask ourselves, as we issue the order, who are we giving the instructions to? We tell them there are no commissioners. We would be issuing orders to clerks. So let's come the following day, when we have thought it out clearly, to know, since there are no commissioners who can receive our instruction, how best can the instructions go to those workers? The clerks, including the CEO. They say, oh, this is irreconcilable. How can it be reconcilable when we want to go and think through clearly? And there are lawyers there. We have technical people in the background, people like you. You will advise us, this is the best way to go about it. So when they run to the public and they say, we are saying by Tuesday next week, we will walk out of the talks after 7 days. Walk out and go where? Then they bring in strange things. Something called Jubilee. Jubilee, not on our side, not on their side, was Jubilee an issue that was dividing this country. So because one of their leaders, Kalonzo Musyoka, said in the fake NDC that was there over the weekend, that if you are not going to stop interfering with Jubilee, the talks will collapse. How do you expect us, the Kenya Kwanza side, to be guided by that pronouncement of Kalonzo? One, if Kalonzo has no confidence in the wiper man who he has sent there, called Honorable Wambua, then he should change Wambua. Instead of wanting to dictate us from a political rally in the name of an NDC. Okay. Those are the issues, for example, that are dividing, that have got nothing to do with the issues that we put on the table, that we wanted to sort out on their side and on our side.
All right. Sifuna, have you been shifting goalposts?
First, let me say, Trevor, no, we have not been shifting goalposts. And I want to take great exception to what Khalwale has said here. You'll remember that both teams have 7 members. It is not possible that myself and Honorable Lekina can override the other 5 people and essentially declare stalemates without concurrence of our colleagues. We would be in the minority. And one of the things that we have said from the onset is that there was no goodwill from the Kenya Kwanza side. And you can see it displayed even in some of the things, the words that Khalwale is using. Personally, and I wish our media cameras would be allowed going forward into these negotiations, because I think I am at my nicest in those talks, because I understand that this is a dialogue. What Khalwale is saying, and Khalwale has made it, his style to tell open lies, even what he has done here on TV. There has never been a moment where me or Honorable Lekina have stalled discussions that stormed out. We always listen to each other and we try to persuade these gentlemen. We saw the lack of good faith from the beginning. You will remember that even when we had said what our 4 issues were, and I want to remind the country so that Khalwale does not lie to you that we are introducing new things. We said we wanted to address the cost of living. We wanted steps to be taken to reduce the cost of hunger. That was said from the beginning at the rally in Jivanji. You were there as media houses. Number 2, we said we would want an audit of the 2022 presidential elections. We wanted an audit of the servers. Are we together, Trevor?
Yes.
That was not a matter that came up yesterday. It was said at Jivanji at the inception of this particular process. We said we want a respect of multi-party democracy, non-interference in the internal workings of other political parties. This question of poaching members of parliament from other political parties, it was an issue from inception at Jivanji. We said we would like reconstitution of IEBC in a bipartisan manner. Those were 4 issues, Trevor. From the beginning, I think it was in, February? And all these things are on record. I want Khalwale to tell me which new issue we have introduced. When we go into the room, the first issue, the first point of departure, the first indication of bad faith, we have said that we would like to discuss fidelity to political parties and non-interference. This issue of buying members of parliament from other political parties. Then they name Honorable Kainan in their own team, the negotiation. The first break that we had, the first suspension of the talks, was because of the presence of Honorable Kainan. We didn't even understand why we'd have to explain this thing to them. But we had to suspend the talks until Honorable Kainan was withdrawn. That was not Sifuna. It was a position that was taken by the coalition itself. In fact, Trevor, there have been 2 suspensions of these talks. The first one was as a direct result of a position taken by my coalition on the presence of Kainan in those talks. This recent one was ours as the negotiators of Azimio. And we went yesterday to our principals to explain to them, and I want to try and repeat it here, why we had to suspend the talks. When we are discussing, we told Honorable Khalwale that, first of all, we in Azimio, Trevor, we have bent over backwards to protect our colleagues in these particular talks, because these guys are unprepared. They always come late for meetings. They miss meetings. And when they come, like on the day when we were supposed to table issues, everybody brings their own issues. We had our issues ready and prepared to table. These guys had not even thought about it. And they said, oh, Sifuna, if you go to the media and tell them that we were ready to table and you guys were not ready, we will look bad. That day, we agreed with them to protect them, and we were not going to table issues. In fact, we came out and told the media that we are postponing the tabling of issues to allow these guys to come up with issues. Then they tabled their own issues. When they tabled their own issues, the question of IEBC was a common issue. They tabled it. They said, oh, they would want this question of maandamano to be addressed. So we sit down and we say, just like we do in court, and the good thing is that many members on that panel are actually lawyers. We said, if we have a dispute, an auctioneer wants to sell your house, between you and me, we are both claiming the house. The first thing the court does is to say, before the dispute is resolved, let nobody sell the house. Let's preserve the house. We said, because we have made an issue on the audit of the server, can we make an interim pronouncement as a committee that whoever has the servers, because the IEBC is not just the commissioners, there is a secretariat there. They are running things, they are preserving even the electoral materials, the ballot papers. The law requires that the commission stores them for, I think, 6 years. So now that we don't have commissioners, who is storing them? Are they being thrown out on the streets because there are no commissioners? No. There is somebody at the IEBC who's responsible for storage of the election material, and that includes, Trevor, the servers. All we wanted our colleagues to accede to is to say, as we wait to audit the servers, because it is a process, we have to agree on how it's going to be done, who's going to supervise this, are we going to use experts, or is it me and Khalwale going into the server room? You understand? Before we get there, can we have a preservatory measure to say, let the servers be maintained in the state in which they were as of 9th of August 2022? How difficult is that? How unreasonable is that? Number two, we've said we want to look at amending the law on the selection panel of IEBC so that it can be more bipartisan. And we say, as an interim measure, before we get to those discussions, can we at least put a freeze on the ongoing process of recruitment of those commissioners so that we are not speaking in vain? And they also tabled some interim measures that they wanted to see. They asked us, and if I'm wrong, he's here to correct me. He said, according to them, they want us to make a commitment that there will be no mandamano for as long as the talks are going on. Khalwale, I can hold a Bible here. You know, I think you should start giving us oaths on this program and say that in the name of God, we in Azimio said we will accede to that request on a commitment not to go to mandamano for as long as these talks are going on. They themselves said, as an interim measure, they want us to stay away from pronouncements that undermine the talks before God and before Kenyans. We in Azimio said we were ready to do that. Then we asked them, which one of our interim measures are you prepared to take? Then we told them, we have had William Ruto saying that the price of maize flour is below 160 and that it is going to go to a certain level. We told them, we feel you are lying to Kenyans. Where, Khalwale, can we get this maize of 150 so that I can go and tell the people that, yes, we can see a commitment to reducing the cost of living? Trevor, out of all the interim measures this gentleman said yesterday, the day before, that they cannot accede to any of them. So in light of that, we ask ourselves, what are we doing? What are we discussing? If we will come to open the server and we find the server had been interfered with, then we would have acted in vain. If we come to discuss the reconstitution of IEBC, and there are already commissioners who, once they take the Bible, are going to be there for 6 years, then what are we doing? In my own observation, first of all, Khalwale, we have great respect for all the colleagues on that panel. But we feel that there are multiple teams in your team. We feel that there are people who are committed to actually having a dialogue. And there are people who are there with specific instructions, I don't know from which quarters, to ensure that those talks don't proceed. In fact, the only progress we have seen is when Chair Murugara has been absent. And I can say this without fear of contradiction. He is one of the people we consider to be a problem. We are not going to dictate to you who you bring to the table, but we are saying we can tell, we can see who is interested in having a conversation. And we said, as Sifuna, personally, and I know Honorable Lekina, I know Honorable Millie Odhiambo, I know my brother or my sister Amina Mnyazi. These are not people who are known to be lying to the public. I have a reputation, Trevor. I cannot continue to lie to the people of Kenya that something is happening in this room, yet all we do there is to eat tea and mandazi. I can tell you without fear again that these guys, even in the absence of that good faith and the appearance that they are taking instructions from different quarters, they actually don't have complete mandate to negotiate on behalf of Kenya Kwanza. And we can tell, because simple decisions, they are saying that we go to consult. They are the ones who are always asking to a break to consult. If it was them who had the option of calling off the talks without reference to their principles, they would not have done it. Because for us, We know our principles. Our principles can be persuaded. We come and lay out a case for them as to why we did a certain thing, and they will agree with us the way they agreed with us yesterday. Okay. These guys live in fear. Even if we were to say, in these talks, we are going to change the supply of juice, these guys have to call their principles. They can't make that decision. They don't have the capacity.
All right. Senator Lole, do you have the power to make a decision in these talks? And is there a split in your team where there are some people who are willing to have this conversation, others are not, like he's alluding to?
I want to confirm that the membership of our team was not picked out of a knee-jerk. There are certain talents that are with the capacities of the various members that made them attractive, including our co-chair, Honorable Murugara. What I would like Kenyans to appreciate is that the team of 14 of bipartisan talks is not above the Constitution. It's not about the law. The things they're advancing, they want them decided with finality by us as if we are above the law. He's a lawyer, and do not embarrass the legal profession by leaving the impression that what we say, we are a law unto ourselves. Let me go to the issue they keep on bringing up about the audit of the last general election, quotes, opening servers. If, for example, the bipartisan talks team was to agree that the election results would be audited, or in quote, servers would be opened, we have no power, jurisdiction to order. There is the due process that accompanies, dear lawyer. The due process would require that for any electoral material, be it a ballot box, to be opened, to be scrutinized, to be recounted, it must be with a court order. So we would merely make a recommendation. So when I find somebody who is supposed to be qualified in law wanting to give the impression that my team, our team, are a law unto ourselves, then we start wondering, is the problem the teaching of law? Or is the problem the students that go through the schools of law in this country? The second point I want to make on this issue of servers, up to and including the newspapers now, there's a cartoon there showing the former prime minister struggling to open servers and some character making it impossible for him to open the servers. I hear Sifuna saying that that character is myself. Sifuna, the photograph, the cartoon just looks like me, but it doesn't mean I am the one. What is this thing called servers? The real server, the only server which contains the truth about what took place in 2022 on 9th of August, is the ballot box. Opening of a ballot box is ordered by a court of law. Sifuna, while at the Supreme Court, and I'm lucky he was there, Amolo Otiende, co-chair, was actually counsel to the proceedings at the Supreme Court. They applied for that opening of ballot boxes, and they were granted. 43 of them were opened, and the results were found to be congruent with what was contained in Form 34A. So the servers have already been opened. Whatever else they are looking for, I don't know whether there is some old man, very fierce, in Narok, who is holding a key that is supposed to open this thing called the server. The real server is the ballot box. Finally, and Sifuna, I thank you for this, he's been very honest in talking about interim issues, but he has carefully left out our position. We told them, because we need to fine-tune how the interim requests that we shall make to institutions will be received, like in IEBC where we have no commissioners. Meanwhile, let us unlock the most sensitive thing on that list of issues. Both sides are agreed it is IEBC. IEBC, without commissioners, you cannot hold a by-election. Already, we have constituencies and wards that are due for by-elections. God forbid, this can never happen, it should not happen, but we are men and women of this world. In America, they say, a deputy president is a heartbeat away from the president. What it means is that anything can happen to the president. Supposing we continue misbehaving the way these guys are misbehaving, and the worst happened in this country, that a presidential election becomes due when we don't have IEBC. So we told them, this matter is so urgent, as we consult on interim measures, let us discuss on how we can lock IEBC.
Okay.
They don't want to hear about it.
Right.
They would rather they go and do drama, grandstand in the media, rather than sit in bombers and we work to give Kenyans a commission.
Okay.
Now just let me just comment on this question of the IEBC.
Yeah. And the jurisdiction.
And the failure.
Yeah.
Because you see, Trevor, this is a process that is driven by political goodwill. There is a reason we are here. We didn't bring ourselves to the table. It is William Ruto who called us to the table. So why did you call us if you knew we cannot discuss these things? And we have tried to educate our colleagues on the other side that what this committee is going to do is not to issue orders. We understand that we cannot issue orders. We are a product of bipartisanship, representing the leadership of Kenya, which represents the majority of Kenyans. Both coalitions represent the majority of Kenyans. We should be able to agree and express the aspirations of the majority of Kenyans, that if indeed the dispute is that, yes, there is an allegation that there was some ukora that was done inside the servers, it is in the interest of all of us, because the Constitution says that all election material, you don't just say that there's a ballot boxes, every single method that is used for election and the equipment and whatever it is auditable. It should be able to be scrutinized. It should be accountable. So if we said, and we try to persuade our brothers here, that we are making a recommendation as a bipartisan committee representing all these Kenyans, that the server be preserved, so that as we grapple with all these other legal issues as to how we will be opening the server, where the server is, to know the final truth about the election, at least the matter will be preserved. On the question of the IEBC reconstitution, Trevor, and this is the dishonesty that Khalwale is displaying, we formed a subcommittee of 6 people, 3 from our side and 3 from their side. Because this was a common issue, because they themselves tabled it as an issue, we understood the assignment to be that we will bring our proposals on how we think the IEBC should be reconstituted in a manner that then earns the confidence of Kenyans, and they would bring the same. I was the convener of our team. We met, we drew up scenarios, we prepared a position paper. When we came to Bomas on the day when we were supposed to discuss IEBC, Khalwale came late. So he was not there when his own team reported that they have done nothing on the IEBC. So this false urgency that he's trying to portray here, I have told you these people have no commitment, they don't have capacity, they don't have the mandate to be able to take a decision on anything. For me, I am properly instructed, our Azimio principals, Honorable Raila, Honorable Kalonzo, Honorable Martha, Honorable Wajakoya, all of them, they are very clear in the instructions such that when I go to that table, if there is a decision that needs to be taken, I don't need to make phone calls. I can take that decision. This is something that is missing on their side. I am prepared, Trevor, right now, because our position paper on the IEBC is there. We had it on the day when the talks collapsed. Ask him. Their own convener confirmed to the team that they have nothing. So they cannot come and tell us that, oh, we are the ones who are not serious about these talks. We are serious about these talks. He talked about Jubilee. My brother, we said from the beginning, respect for democracy, multi-party democracy, non-interference in political parties was an issue. And that is why we requested that as an interim measure, please, can you stop this attack on Jubilee? Because it doesn't matter how you pretend, Khalwale, even the words he's using, He's saying, he's speaking the language of Kanini Kega, that the NDC was fake. He has said here that it was a political rally, not an NDC. They are in sync. And they have roped in the register of political parties, which is why we are saying, we know, Honorable Khalwale, if you had goodwill, you would stop the shenanigans that are going on in Jubilee, because it is your hand. The hand of Kenya Kwanza is very clear. Even his tongue and Kanini Kega's, you would think it's Kanini Kega who is sitting there. You are supposed to be non-involved in the affairs of Jubilee. How do you know whether this NDC was fake? Have you ever seen the constitution of Jubilee, Omwami? You have never. Please. So what we are saying is, these guys, from the beginning, there is no commitment. They have no mandate. There are questions of capacity. There are questions of divisions within their own teams. They are answering to different bosses. There are some who are interested to speak, to push the talks forward, and I've given an express example. Because we have decided we are going to tell Kenyans the truth. When Honorable Murugara was absent and Honorable Mutuse was chairing on their side, we made tremendous progress, because there is, at least from some of them, an iota of like some interest in actually having a conversation. But other guys like Khalwale will just come in, late of course. Then he tries to provoke us all the time. He'll say, oh, we are the government, you must respect us. The sooner you accept, the better. So why are we there? Why are we there? We are there to have a conversation, because I made a commitment before the country, and even my party leader did the same, that immediately we open the servers and we see that there were no shenanigans and Ruto won fairly, we will congratulate him and say, Mr. President, congratulations. So we all want that. We all want that, and we must show that commitment.
Okay.
I think he has not said anything controversial.
So you agree that you were late to the meetings, your side didn't have any paperwork ready?
Can I? He has said nothing controversial, but my brother, I want to appeal to you. Just face the country with the truth, and you don't have to remember anything. Now, when you lie to the country that the subcommittee met and drew a document which is ready for discussion, must you lie? The subcommittee included the two of us.
No, not ours. Oh. I said ours, we met, the three of us. Not you.
It included the two of us. It was not your subcommittee, it was the subcommittee of the bipartisan talks. 3 from their side, 3 from our side. Purely by happenstance, it happened that the time of working of that subcommittee, 4 members were set to travel out of the country. And it was Mheshimiwa Sifuna, Olekina, Wambua, and myself. But when the traveling by the Senate out of the country came, I couldn't make the trip. Other issues made it impossible for me to travel. We had hoped that while out of the country, at least 4 of us would have formed a quorum. Then we would have discussed something to come and lay before this. So the only people who traveled were the Azimio people. And therefore, that committee where he sits, I sit, we have not met even once to draw a document. But all was not lost, because what we were supposed to do is simple. It is something we could fix even in 30, maximum 1 hour. 30 minutes, maximum 1 hour. So we said nothing is lost. They have now come back from Dubai. I did not go, I was overcommitted. Now, let us do that 1 hour, fix it, and lay before the committee. But meanwhile, can we deal with at least one substantive issue? So the moment they hear we now want to go into a substantive issue, they declare there is irreconcilable. Can we do something? I was not named, at least I don't know about the others. Talk about Boni Khalwale. I was not named on that committee to come and agree with you. I was named because you are minds on that side, and I'm one of the minds on this side, so that our minds could meet. But for me to come...
agreeing.
Yes.
When minds meet, it's called agreeing.
Yes.
So you are there to agree.
Yes. So for you to expect that I was coming there to subscribe to issues that are outside the provisions of the law. Like, for example, I lied to myself, the way you guys lied to yourself in BBI, that because Uhuru was there, Raila was there, Kalonzo was there, everybody was there, all tribes leaders were there, BBI was going to go through, the courts proved you wrong. We can do silly things as bipartisan talks in Bomas, and when it is subjected to a court process, the thing will be termed either as illegal, unconstitutional, or hot air. I didn't want to go through that experience that you people went through. I would like to be part of something that step by step.
Okay. So Trevor,
let him finish.
Why are you agitated?
No, I'm not agitated.
I thought lawyers are trained to listen.
I'm smiling.
Yes. However much you push me, however much you say I am not serious or Morugara is not serious, that we don't have the capacity, please do not allow me to be part of a process that will be dismissed by the courts.
We've run out of time, but is there hope for this?
I think it is clear. Yes. It is clear from the beginning that there was no intention whatsoever to have any meaningful conversation. What he's talking about, a substantive issue, is the issue of IEBC. On our part, the three of us that were in the subcommittee representing Azimio have a position paper on IEBC. What he needs to answer is if they did anything on their part, because they had also tabled it as an issue. So what is coming out clear, Trevor, is that absolutely nothing is going to come out of these talks. And as I've said here before, Sifuna will not sit in a room to pursue a fool's errand. And many of our colleagues, they're actually quite busy. We miss parliamentary sessions, we miss meetings of committees that maybe we would have made greater contribution. What we were hoping to do, because everything with political goodwill can actually succeed. Political goodwill has opened doors. In fact, I have given them many examples that if the leadership of the country is agreed that there is a problem here and it's a political problem that requires a political solution, we can always find ways to circumvent or to go around the problem so that we can find a legal solution. In fact, even on the question of the reconstitution of IEBC, I can say this because we did it as the Azimio team. We started with the court position because the current amendments were precipitated by a court decision. Yeah. We first took that court decision and said, what has the court said about this? And they said, you cannot have a majority of the members of the panel being appointed by one person. So what proposals do we have? We drew up 3 scenarios. Our expectation, Halwale, was that your team would do the same because you had laid down the same as an issue. Okay. So when we come into the room and you tell us you have done nothing about it, what do you want us to discuss?
Okay.
So you can see, Trevor, we are going nowhere. I want to apologize to Kenyans on behalf of Azimio at least for having wasted time, for having given them false hope that there was going to be something coming out of these talks. But you can see, because of the lack of commitment, lack of seriousness from our brothers, then we cannot continue.
So on your side, this is the end of it?
I think so, because we said yesterday that if indeed there is a change of heart, because we have given the opportunity as provided for in the framework agreement, that in these 7 days, now we have 5 days. If they can accede to some of the preliminary issues, that the preliminary measures, the interim measures that we have said, we should be able to go back. But if they don't, then the framework agreement says that the talks shall stand dissolved.
Alwal, is there hope? Very briefly.
There's a lot of hope. This is tantamount to throwing temper tantrums because of the inability to want to see the view of the other side. They will eventually see it. The only issue of Jubilee that would have caused a problem was the membership. And we removed Honorable Kainan. So the problem of IEBC, not IEBC, of Jubilee is sorted. The headaches they are having in managing their coalition, how Jubilee people are misbehaving and coming on our side, is not part of the talks. It is their business. They should learn how to manage their coalition, and I can assure the Jubilee members elected who are majority, having chosen to work with the government, it is your democratic right. The Constitution provides freedom of association.
All right.
So if they choose to associate with us as a whip, I can assure them I'm going to give them membership positions on committees, should they be thrown out by Azimio,
All right.
who don't want them.
All right, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
They're the ones who don't want us.
Chief.
The ones who don't want us.
Let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time. All right.